We've got some exciting guests that have stopped by to help us get up to speed on something that you're increasingly hearing more and more about here in St. Johns County, and that's Fort Mose, right?
It is, and we have Sedrick Lee with us today.
Sedrick Lee, of course, is Vice President of the Fort Mose Historical Society. Sedrick, good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me back.
No, thank you for coming back. And so right off the bat, people will say, man, I've seen the sign for Fort Mose, and that may be all they know, right? Right there off of US 1 as you head into downtown St. Augustine.
That's correct. Fort Mose is about two miles north of St. Augustine, there on Route 1. Brief history. Fort Mose was originally established in 1738. Mm-hmm. It's recognized today as the first legally sanctioned free black community in what's now the United States. During that period, Florida was under the Spanish, and in an effort to disrupt the expansion of the English, the then governor of Florida offered sanctuary to Africans willing to escape enslavement, and that sanctuary ultimately resulted in Fort Mose. Fort Mose, again, was established in 1738. It thrived as a community of free blacks. There were only a couple of small conditions. They had to convert to Catholicism, and the men needed to serve in the militia.
For the Spanish.
For the Spanish, that's correct.
Hey, if you're just tuning in or hopping in your vehicle, that's the voice of Sedrick Lee. He is the Vice President of the Fort Mose Historical Society. Of course, Fort Mose located right there on US 1, just a little bit north of the city limits of St. Augustine. And indeed, last Friday, you all had a very important event.
We did. On last Friday, the 19th, we celebrated the groundbreaking of Reconstruction of the original fort. Mm-hmm. This is a 30-plus year dream, particularly for the Fort Mose Historical Society. Reconstruction of the fort is significant in that for the first time, it will allow visitors of all ages from all over the world to experience a portrayal of what life was like within the first free black community here in the United States. So we're super excited about this groundbreaking.
Because indeed, now if you go to the Fort Mose location there on US 1, it's a beautiful spot. Of course, it's right there on the river, and there's access to the water and beautiful grounds there where you can have a picnic. There's actually a museum there that I've been in on numerous occasions. But the fort itself doesn't exist.
That's correct, and it's kind of a running joke, but particularly with kids, we get a lot of tours of kids around fourth graders, and they are excited to come into the museum, but as they exit the back of the museum, they're often asking, where's the fort?
Right.
So later this year, we'll be excited to actually give them a real fort to tour and experience.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that. I know it involved a whole bunch of different things going on at the same time so that you could recreate the fort. Where are you in terms of funding, and what is the timeline for having it built?
Well, we're at a point where, again, we just experienced groundbreaking, and that recognizes or signifies a significant accomplishment in that we have secured the necessary funding to construct the fort. This was a tremendous cooperation between state, local, county governments, nonprofits, commercial, private, and individual donors. We're delighted with the support that we received from across the region and in some cases across the nation. So groundbreaking we expect to begin probably early March after our upcoming concert series, and the schedule shows it should wrap up by the end of the calendar year.
Wow.
So within this calendar year, we expect to realize that long dream of having the 1738 fort on the grounds of Fort Mose.
I wonder how long it took them to build the original one back in the 1700s.
It took a couple of years, at least. I think construction may have begun around 1735 and completed 1738, where it was then occupied by the formerly enslaved Africans.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot farther to Home Depot back then. Luckily, we fixed that problem. Hey, it is about 24 minutes before 10 o'clock, 70 degrees already, on our way up to a high today of near 80 degrees. But even though the fort isn't built yet, it is a beautiful spot to go by and see and appreciate a big part of St. Augustine and St. Johns County history by visiting Fort Mose. And indeed, people can do that every day for the most part, right? Between what hours?
Well, the fort's open between 9 and 4,
Yeah.
Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay.
It is closed it's open Thursday through Sunday. It's closed Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Hey, in the meantime, if you're just hopping in your vehicle and trying to figure out what we're talking about, check out the website, fortmose.org. That's fortmose.org, and that's spelled
FORTMOSE.org.
Yeah, that's easy enough. We'll be back. It's going to be a beautiful day today. 70 degrees already with a high temperature topping off near 80 degrees. We'll do the same thing tomorrow. We also have a rip current advisory in effect for all St. Johns County area beaches until tomorrow night. So if you're out there, like Karen is, always swimming in the ocean, please be careful.
I'll be careful.
Yeah, be careful, please. So, because we don't even have any lifeguards out. Not this time of
Not
year.
yet.
Yeah. Hey, we're spending some time with the good folks from the Fort Mose Historical Society. Fort Mose, of course, located just off of US 1, a little bit north of the city limits in St. Augustine. It's a beautiful place to go and experience the nature of our part of the world. Right there on the river, there's also a museum there that celebrates the rich history of Fort Mose, and very exciting things happening there. Some very energetic folks have gotten together and figured out how to restore the fort, which we think, Sedrick Lee, was destroyed when?
It was destroyed in 1740 during what's recognized as the Bloody Battle of Mose. So it was destroyed, uninhabited for several years, but then reconstructed in 1752. Yes, so we're reconstructing the original fort built in 1738.
And indeed, a groundbreaking just took place with that, and we hope that the reconstructed fort will be available for tours later this year, at the end of the year, right?
Yes, that's correct. We are super excited to bring that experience to our visitors.
Yeah. Key question, will there be a cannon?
There will be.
All right.
We actually have a cannon today, a brand new cannon. It's only about 6 months old.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful. You've got to experience it.
You get to fire it?
I don't personally fire it.
Really? You would think that'd be one of the perks of being the vice president of the Historical Society, right?
Well, there's training and everything that needs to take place.
Training?
I can't believe they still make cannons.
I know. You can just turn it and face US 1, deal with some of our traffic issues.
That'd be cool.
It's impressive.
Yeah. Hey, learn more about what they're doing with Fort Mose, of course, by going to fortmose.org. That's fortmose.org. I would imagine a vast majority, not only of our listeners, but most residents here in St. Johns County would have no idea that we had a free black slave colony right here.
Right here in St. Augustine, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. To celebrate the history of Fort Mose over the many generations and hundreds of years, you're having a couple of big events taking place in February, right?
Yes, that's correct. February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is our signature annual event. It's called Flight to Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you've never been to Fort Mose, or you just really want to appreciate what the story is all about, Flight to Freedom is indeed the one event I would highly recommend. We have a number of reenactors that reenact several key roles of individuals that were instrumental to the flight to freedom. We have freedom seekers, we have slave catchers, we have a priest, we have boatmen, we have as many as 10 different roles that we reenact in full 1700 series attire.
Mm-hmm.
Our reenactors are extremely powerful and well-trained. I must admit, the first time I experienced the Freedom Trail, only 3 years ago, I exited that trail in tears. So it's quite powerful. I strongly recommend visiting Fort Mose and particularly experiencing the Flight to Freedom.
That takes place once again the first weekend in February, right?
Yes, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The hours are 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll have plenty of tour guides. Tours are running every 15 to 20 minutes. So we're looking forward to a great weekend of Flight to Freedom.
Learn more by going to fortmose.org, and that's spelled M-O-S-E, fortmose.org. That's fortmose.org. And Fort Mose and the Historical Society there is very active on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube, too, so you can search Fort Mose on those platforms as well. And, of course, a big jazz and blues festival taking place. This was a huge success last year, continues to be a big deal, right?
Yes, it's a very big deal. Actually, this coming February, we've got 5 concert series. And let me take a brief moment to acknowledge the AMP. The AMP is an incredible partner of Fort Mose. They actually orchestrate, build the stage, set the scene, set the lighting. It's an absolutely beautiful occasion with top nationally recognized artists. So this year we'll have 5 performances, the 8th, 9th, and 10th, and also the weekend of the 16th and 17th. You can get a lot more information at discoverfortmose.com, or you can also visit fortmose.org, where we will redirect you to the link. There are some tickets still available. It's a very, very phenomenal occasion, so please do get your tickets if you haven't already.
Well, just a very unique venue, but a beautiful place to go and appreciate and hear some music. Common on Thursday evening, Preservation Hall Jazz Band from New Orleans on Friday, February 9th, Keb Mo on Saturday, February 17th. Learn more once again by going to fortmose.org. Tell you what, we're going to play a song or two, and we will be back with Sedrick Lee.
Shake. Shake. Shake.
That's Chicago here on 103.9 WSOS. Hope you're having a good morning so far. We're live from St. Augustine, and we're talking with Sedrick Lee, who is the vice president of the Fort Mose Historical Society. Fort Mose, of course, located right there on US 1, an amazing museum that you need to stop by and see. But the museum and the property itself is right against the river and just north of St. Augustine. A beautiful place, and they have a wonderful walkway that will take you right out there. You'll go through the marsh. You'll get to experience and feel what it would have been like back in the 1700s, right?
Yes, yes. And of course, we mentioned earlier, we are groundbreaking here soon, the reconstructing of the original 1738 fort. So that will significantly add to the Fort Mose experience.
Yeah, that's going to be going on this year, and hopefully that fort will be completely reconstructed, by the end of this year. And we know from the Castillo downtown that is a huge tourism draw, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've had increasing numbers of tourists for the past couple of years, but we're expecting a significant increase in visitors this coming year post-construction of the fort. We're also seeking to add Fort Mose as part of the trolley tour route. So it may take separate shuttles, but we are looking to fully incorporate Fort Mose into the central St. Augustine tours.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exciting. Well, once again, that's going on. We talked in the last segment about the Living History event, which takes place February 1st through the 3rd, which is right around the corner. And, of course, the big Fort Mose Jazz and Blues Festival, which has now become, thankfully, an annual event here in St. Johns County with big major acts and just a great venue to go watch shows like this. That takes place February 8th through 10th, and then the following weekend, February 16th through the 17th. And there's information about that, of course, available, too, at the website, fortmose.org, and also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, where Fort Mose is very, very active. At the end of the day, if folks are driving around, Sedrick, they're listening to us, give them the reason and motivation for why they really should put it into their schedule to try to get by there, if not during the week, on the weekend, and actually experience Fort Mose, even in its current form before the fort gets built out.
Yes, Fort Mose is a hidden gem here in the St. Augustine area. And the story is incredibly powerful, and I think it's beneficial that everyone learn more, appreciate the importance of the first legally sanctioned free black community in what's now the United States. It's a beautiful site, as you've mentioned. We've got a very nice self-guided museum tour, and we're super excited to add a reconstructed fort to that experience. So we strongly encourage and welcome all visitors. So please come and see us.
Well, once again, you can learn more by going to fortmose.org. That's fortmose.org. And, of course, the park, pretty much open all the time, right?
Yes, the grounds are open 24/7, 365 days a year. The actual museum is open Thursday through Monday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, very good. Sedrick Lee, thank you very much. Thank you for all your good work, all your volunteer work, too. We appreciate you.
Yes, thanks again for allowing me to come and help to share and spread the word on Fort Mose.
FortMose.org is the website we'd love for you to check out next time you get in front of a screen, FortMose.org. And, of course, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and check them out, too, on YouTube, Fort Mose right here in St. Augustine and St. Johns County.